Get back to work. Go on.
Get a little more light going on here. So I had mentioned that the top here seemed to be a little different than there, and it turned out indeed the skin itself was not sitting flat on my table. And now it is. You'll also notice that the skin has a bit of a lip above this part here. That is not a problem. On this piece of wood is going to be a rockler bearing or a lazy Susan of appropriate size, about 18 inches or so. And then there will be spacer screws put in there through the bottom of this up into the rockler so that the dome can be adjusted for height. And that's pretty much the way they did it in the movie too. One of the bad things you'll notice right here is this bit of a pinch going on. Technically that should come out to something like there. Once the skin snaps are in and properly placed, that should go away. However, as mentioned, today's project is getting the shoulders going. That's as tight as that one will go. And that's about as tight as that one will go. So I've got a good fit on this side, relatively speaking. A little bit of an overlap there, that could be a problem. And a bit of a gap on this side. So these skins can definitely shift over still just a little. On the back, which I'm not too worried about, you can notice that there is no light gap coming through here, but there is a lot there. There's a lot here, but none through there. As long as they're even, that's what matters most. These panels here these panels here never opened up in the movies. Well, maybe the center one did, in which case it seems a little crooked. And it would have to shift this way. However, to shift that way, the front is the most important part. And it looks like the front needs to shift that way. Just a hair. What I'm going to do is grab this around both sides and kind of slightly pressure it. There's still definitely more metal on that side than this side. However, looking down here at the frame, and just a little. There. There we go. That's much better. Got a nice tight fit on this side. Still pinching on that side there. Over on this side, a bit of a gap. That is somewhat to be expected. However, definitely not a welcome thing. As I go around trying to pull the skins into shape, one of the big risks is punching through one of these panels, and you don't want to do that by accident because you can warp the metal, which obviously is not going to be a happy situation. A lot of the folks say you can bend it back into shape. However, I don't expect you'll ever get that smooth curve ever again. Let's throw this third strap on here and see if that helps a little. So one of the things I just noticed is that this rubber band, wherever that came from, had gotten knotted up inside the wood and the skin, and that had been helping to keep the parts apart. So now I've gotten the gap on here much better. 1/8 of an inch is not uncommon of a tolerance on this, so I am very happy with how tight that is there. And over here, I've opened up the gap, you can see on that side, and that just a little. This looks like it's pinching, however, once it's set up to the proper distance, that's going to fix itself. What I'll do now is take this rubber mallet here and that should help make sure that the frame is totally flat on the bottom. Let's flip them upside down and see. That's not too bad. A little bit of overhang though. So while I don't for a single moment think that my thumb is going to be the best guide for how to get this completely flat, however, it should be good enough. So at this point it's just a matter of tapping this back and forth until this is nice and flat. One thing I'm trying to be very specific about doing here is hitting most of the wood and just barely any of the aluminum, so I can be somewhat assured that this is going to be relatively flat. And I think I'm happy with this. Probably the most critical thing to getting your skins exactly straight, perpendicular to the frame on, is that you have the frame exactly perpendicular and straight to itself. So a bit of the rim here may look a little higher than another bit of the rim. However, that would be the frame, not the skin, simply because the frames are laser cut aluminum, and when those were laid out, those were exactly right angles going on, which means my frame is just like a 0.0 something degrees off somewhere, and that's pretty good for a lot of builders. Fortunately, I had the help of two master builders, Mike Senna and Darth Will Miyamoto, who pretty much helped me throw the frame together at one of the R2 build days, and that help was absolutely critical and important for me, because getting all this lined up would definitely not have been an easy thing. However, I do believe that right now the frame is centered. It's as perpendicular as it can be. There's as much width on any given side as any other, and I think I'm happy with this. So the next step would be getting my rondelle here. So this bit of work here is actually pretty much just pure eyeball action. It doesn't matter which way it's set at this point. However, what does matter is making sure that it's dead center on all these sides. And it does in fact look like this will not be dead center to the perpendicular slat. I don't know if that will be a cause of concern or not. However, the line's already laid out by the guy who donated these pieces to me, Victor Franco. Pretty much perpendicular with the skins at this point. And I think that's probably where it's going to matter the most. Right now what I'm looking at is the bit of a difference here. This seems to rise up at an angle and then cuts back to flat. However, by simply twisting or warping this just a little, that gets it back into place, so that's not a problem. Oops, and you can see here that with all my pushing around, I kind of pushed that panel in. Not a big problem, but it's definitely something you want to minimize when you're doing this action. Because if any of these tabs ripped wrong, they'd shear the metal and you'd have all sorts of ugliness that would be highly difficult, if not just a total pain in the butt to fix. I'm going to have one last look inside here. Make sure that I'm absolutely dead happy with the distance going on. And I think I am. So what I'll need now is a very thin nail to fit through the center hole there.